welcome back. My name is Kathleen Cherry. I am the author of Everyday Hero, and I am now going to be reading Chapter 5. Chapter 5. What the? Get off! Do you know what time it is? I've been worried sick. Dad's voice woke me as if from a dream. I blinked and stared around me at a world oddly changed. The ride had stopped. The music was gone. Everything was black, punctuated only by the floodlight's harsh glare. Noises, smells, sounds swamped me. Screams, laughter, the smell of hot dogs and popcorn. Above me, the huge, mobile arms of other rides whirled, casting weird, elongated shadows. People screamed in sync with its lifts and dives. Dad stood on the carousel's metal platform, one hand on my horse's mane. Whose idea was this? He asked. She wouldn't get off, Megan said. She was standing beside me, I realized. My dad turned to her. Who are you? Megan. You're Megan? His voice went up. She nodded. She was enjoying it. She loved it. And then she wouldn't get off. Did you brought her here? Megan shrugged. You could say. It's noisy and crazy. It's the worst place for her. That was a dumb idea. I have a lot of those. Her voice went loud. She stepped away. She was tall, almost as tall as my dad. I saw now that there was no one else on the carousel and that the people standing around it were silent. Why didn't you phone me? He asked. Didn't know your number. If our neighbor hadn't been here and phoned me, I still wouldn't know. Yeah, well, you do now. Megan turned to go. Look, Megan, you don't understand. You can't just dump her at a fair. She's different, he said. Whatever, I'm out of here. Megan tossed her hair back and stepped down from the ride. The crowd parted as she strode through it, a tall, straight, black figure. Different, changed, altered. I started to rock. Alice, off, now, Dad said. I wasn't a ballerina. I wasn't average in type, appearance, achievement, function, and development. I rocked more. I heard the low, moaning whine of my own voice. My father swore. Swearing is against the rules. I plugged my ears. I squeezed my eyes as I got off the horse, stumbling from the ride. I fell, curling onto the hard concrete. Someone screamed. The noise came from my own mouth. Dad swore again. I stuffed my fingers deeper into my ears and curled into an even tighter ball on the cold, rough sidewalk. When I opened my eyes, the crowds had moved away. Dad was talking to a police officer. The police officer wore a uniform. I like uniforms. Are you okay? The police officer asked when I got up. I didn't answer because I didn't know. This man's your dad? He raised his voice at the end, so I knew it was a question. I nodded. She got upset. She gets stressed. Doesn't do well with noise, Dad explained. His cheek twitched, a rippling movement under the grayness of stubble. She'll be okay once she's at home. They spoke some more. Then the officer nodded and left. "Car," my father said, "eyes down." I stood. I walked. 1 step, 2 steps. I focused on the concrete, on the white lines of the empty parking stalls and the snaking power cords. When we got into the car, my father pulled out the mask from the glove box, and I put it on. He started the engine, shifting gears, and drove forward. I looked out the car window and studied the street lights as we drove past. 21 lights. The indicator went tick, tick, tick as we turned onto Kootenai Street. 16 tick, tick, ticks. We stopped at our house. Dad switched off the engine and it shuddered into silence. I got out, letting the mask drop from my face because the evening air was fresh. We walked up the 3 wooden steps. "Bed," Dad said. Later, Dad came and sat beside me and made the springs whine. He pushed his hands through his hair, rumpling it into grey spikes. "Why? Why go on a carousel like 100 times?" he asked. 39, I said. 39? 39? His voice rose in a squeak like the bed springs. "Why?" I did not answer because I do not like questions. Questions make me want to bang my head or curl into a corner. He got up. I heard him sigh as he flicked off the light. "Good night," he said. But later, as I lay in my bed, the answer to his question came. Because for that whole wonderful evening, I hadn't wanted to count or bang my head or even squish myself into a corner. Because for that whole wonderful evening, I was average in type, appearance, achievement, function, and development. "You've never stayed out late before, ever," Dad said over breakfast of Cheerios and milk. "I can also eat pancakes but never eggs because they smell bad." "You need to phone if you're going to stay out after school." "Is that a rule?" I asked. Yes, of course that's a rule," he said loudly. "And that girl, is she the one who visits here after school?" I nodded. "She took you to the fair?" "I got off the bus and the fair was there. But she said you should go. She said her left foot is bigger than her right. She probably bullied you into it. She looks tough." Dad opened a cupboard and pulled out crispy rice cereal, which he likes better than Cheerios. "I don't know if I want you to spend time with her." Tough, overly aggressive, brutal, or rough. "She has bruises because she has bad hand-eye coordination," I explained, because maybe Dad thought she fought a lot. "Probably in some gang," Dad said. Gang, a group of criminals who band together for protection and profit. "I don't think so," I said, because Megan usually didn't spend time with other people. She walked alone to the bus and sat alone on the bus. She walked around the school alone, with her music so loud I could hear it through her earbuds. "Well, don't spend too much time with her. She's a bad influence," Dad said. Influence, the action or process of producing effects on the actions and behaviors of others. I also wondered what too much meant. I prefer to know exact quantities, like I need 8 hours of sleep. I am irritable and tired when I have less than 7. But by the time I had formed the question, he had gone into the washroom, and I could hear the buzz of his electric razor. "You should definitely get a data plan," Megan said when I saw her at the bus stop that morning. She leaned against the bus stop, her hoodie pulled over her head. "Why?" I asked. "Duh, because I wanted to see how you were feeling." "I do not have a headache, a stomachache, or a temperature," I said. "Your dad didn't get too mad?" I shook my head. Across from us, the parking lot was a parking lot again. The vans, trailers, and rides were gone, and the tarmac shone slickly wet. The bus came, and we got in. I sat in the corner where I could feel the vibration of the engine through my back. I glanced at Megan. Her face looked different than it had the night before. Her left eye was swollen shut and ringed with reddish purple bruises. I was glad that even though I have Asperger's, I do not have bad hand-eye coordination. "What happened to your eye?" a guy on the bus asked Megan. He stood in the aisle, holding on to the metal pole and looking down at us. "What's it to you?" she said, her lips hardly moving. "Got into a fist fight at the fair, I bet," the guy said. Darren. I remember his name from English class. He always sat in the back row and had a miniature skateboard that he would flip on his desktop. "Maybe the Connies were fighting over her," a girl said, standing beside Darren and swaying at the bus as the bus started. She was also in English class. "She looks their type, rough and greasy." "She didn't fight," I said. "Shut up," Megan muttered. "How would you know?" the girl asked. Her blue eyes were outlined with thick streaks of black eyeliner. "I was with her," I said. "That's right. I heard you liked the carousel," Darren said and laughed. "So I guess he must have made a joke." I laughed too. Then Darren and the girl with the black eyeliner laughed even more. Megan did not laugh. "Shut up," she said really loudly. She stood, even though the bus was moving, her hands tightened into fists. "Isn't that sweet? One freaky weirdo standing up for the other freaky weirdo," Darren said. It happened fast. 1 second, Darren stood laughing in the aisle, and the next he was lying on the floor, and everyone, even the bus driver, was screaming. Darren swore and sat up. His nose was bloody, and I saw tears in his eyes. He rubbed his arm across his face, smearing the blood. "I'm going to get you for this," he said. The girl with the black eyeliner had started to cry, and her eyeliner ran down her cheeks in inky rivers. The bus jerked to a stop. Fortunately, we were at school. The doors swung open, and the bus driver yelled, "Everyone, get off!" He shouted that fighting on the bus wasn't allowed and that he would tell the principal and the police. He said that kids today were totally out of control, particularly after the fair had been in town. But nobody got off right away except Megan. Megan stood and walked past Darren without even looking at him. She stomped down the aisle, her boots clumping in the eerie silence. Even though the bus was crowded, everyone made room for her. Even the bus driver stopped shouting, saying only, "I'll report this, you know." "Whatever," she said. And Megan strode across the field with her backpack swinging and her chains clanking. Thank you so much for joining me for this chapter. I love sharing my work, and I so much look forward to reading chapter 6 to you. Please know that if you have any questions, just email me via my website, kathleencherry.ca, and I would be more than happy to answer them either in a video or by email. So again, please check back for chapter 6, the next chapter.